All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, another NBA regular season video. In this video, we're going to talk about the ethical and unethical nature of tanking, especially this season. Talk about a couple teams that are tanking and whether they are ethical or aren't ethical. And we're going to talk about some games from the last couple days at the end of this video. So if you like what I have to say, like the video. If you have any opinions, comment it down below. And if you just like the vibes, consider subscribing. So tanking. Everybody's favorite thing in sports. Tanking. The thing bad teams do when they have draft picks to get higher or better draft chances, typically. And in the NBA, especially this year, and especially at the trade deadline, certain teams have gone a very extreme route. A route we haven't seen in, I don't want to say a very long time, but at least to my knowledge, haven't seen it like this blatantly obvious that like this team is actively tanking this season with good players on their team already to increase their chances of getting a good draft pick this year in this year's draft. And some of the biggest offenders of this are Trae Young, Anthony Davis on the Wizards now, and Utah Jazz, Lauri Markkanen, Jaren Jackson Jr. Um, teams. And both these teams have all-star level players. Now, I want to make it very clear here. If a player has a legitimate injury, like Trae Young has been dealing with an injury all season essentially, and him being out doesn't surprise me. Anthony Davis being out, chronically injured, doesn't surprise me. But it's within the nature of you can't even throw him out there for a couple games. Like he can't even act like, oh, we're gonna try to put him out there. You just right after the trade, get out for the season, not playing. He's gonna rest. He's gonna rehab all his injuries, get 100%, and that's what we're gonna do for anybody. Um, well, for anybody you hypothetically trade for, and you're a bad team, you're like, let's do that, right? Let's just rest the guy for the rest of the season. Not even give him a chance to play together till next season, is a bit dubious in my opinion. I have never been the biggest fan of tanking. I understand it though, and if I was a GM, I would probably do it too. I would tell the coach, "Hey, I want a good draft pick. It's gonna pay off." Now, I think where it becomes even more scrupulous, is that the word I want to use? Even more like dastardly. That's the word I want to use. Like evil, evil in like just a sports sense when when you do it for multiple years. And I'm getting a bit ahead of myself here, but I do want to come up with a solution for these tanking teams and very overtly a way to punish them because listen, I understand as a fan that some of these teams aren't free agent destinations. So they need these draft picks to hit and they need these trades to pay off, right? And I understand that. Utah isn't a place people want to go, right off the bat. Maybe once they get there they enjoy it, but from the outside looking in, people don't want to go to Utah. People don't want to go to Washington, you know? And I think we need to punish teams that do it multiple years in a row. If you do it 1 year, fine. 2 years, okay. 3 years, we need to start punishing you. And I don't know what the punishment could be to punish tanking teams because they're already bad. What are you going to do? Take away a draft pick? That's just going to make it worse for them. You're going to have them pay a fine, and sometimes you can't control it. Sometimes players legitimately get injured, like Anthony Davis, Trae Young, bad, like just chronically unhealthy. But you know that when you trade for them, so you kind of understand, like, okay, hey, whatever, whatever. These guys are going to play a majority. I don't like seeing, especially after this trade deadline, as soon as you trade for a player, like 72 hours after, the team puts out a statement out for the rest of the season, rehabbing from X injury. I think that's terrible. I'm not saying you should force players to play, but you need to. I need to see this product on the floor. Like I understand in the grand scheme of things, and I'm especially talking about the Wizards here, and we'll talk about the other teams on your screen as well. Trae Young on the right side of your screen, um, newly minted Washington Wizard. I understand that you want your asset to be healthy. If I'm the Wizards GM, I want Anthony Davis to be as healthy as freaking possible. I want Trey Young to be as healthy as freaking possible. Well, let's get you out for that. Let's get you out there for a game. Game or two. Let me just see you guys together. You know, and I understand. Hey, you might win that game. You could lose it still too, but I just want to see it. I don't like seeing out for the remainder of the season. I think that's tough, and that's tough for the fans. And the fans, I think the fans understand it a bit more. But like people like me who just watch the league as a whole and talk about the league as a whole, there's something about it that makes me feel like icky. Like I just don't like the way it feels. And I've seen some really bad like tanking teams like that. There was that Warriors team. What was that, like 2020, 2019, 2020, or 2020, 2021, when they had just like a bunch of nobodies on the roster. Steph was injured, Draymond was injured, Clay was out rehabbing from his injury. Like it was a bad season. It was bad. That was one of the worst collections of talent I've seen. And they managed to be like a somewhat fun team. And I'm not saying the Wizards aren't a fun team, but like you got your roster for these two guys, and then they don't play the remainder of the season, whether it was the GM's decision or their decision, or they collaborate together to not play the rest of the season. Um, I'm just I'm not wasting my assets to get those players, but I think it's just a bit strange, and I don't think it should be the new norm. I don't think we should do this. And again, I I truly believe we should punish these teams that do it multiple years in a row. You know, like the Wizards are, and the Wizards. Maybe I could get behind. Maybe I could understand a little bit, but like, it, I guess it could be worse. I don't know. I'm rambling here. Let's move on to the next team, the Utah Jazz. And this was actually not the team that triggered this video, but this was the team, the Utah Jazz, that sort of made me want to make this video. And I was sort of on the fence about making this video because I was like, so many people made the video about this, whatever, whatever. But I figured why not make the video? And then a report came out this morning from Chris Haynes, um, Utah Jazz star Jaren Jackson Jr., newly traded to Utah, is likely to miss the remainder of the season to undergo surgery in his left knee to ensure his long-term health after a localized PVNS growth was discovered post-trade. So he, for, I looked this up by the way. A PVNS is like something like a benign object in your body essentially. He has one in his knee, so he's gonna get it taken out obviously, and then they're gonna rehab it. They'll probably put him out for the rest of the season. Um, this is obviously an unforeseen circumstance. Um, I'm not saying Utah's lying and that like he doesn't have one. I don't think they'd make something so obscure up. Maybe they would, but um, even before this came out today, that news came out today. They were pulling Jaren Jackson Jr. They were pulling Laurie Marketing, bottom left of your screen there, at the end of close games. Um, the last couple games they've played together, and trying to purposefully lose games. And uh, I genuinely don't know what's worse, whether doing that, like having guys listed as healthy and then just pulling them at the end of the games is bad, or just them not playing at all. I don't know which is worse. Is it the Wizards route, or is it the what was the Utah Jazz's route of like trying to tank? Um, I I, I guess that the Wizards one is worse, but like I, I don't know how we fix this. I don't know how you incentivize these teams to be better, because like if I go if I go here to Tankathon, right, and I have the 2026 um, draft lottery here, and I'm going to sim the lottery here, and these teams like Utah, like um, the Wizards, like the Pacers in the top left of your screen. The Pacers are the outlier of this whole tanking thing, and I'll talk about them in a little bit. But right now, the Wizards are sitting at the number 2 pick. The Pacers are sitting at number 4, and the Jazz are at number 6. Before I even sim this, right? If I sim it right now, is their tanking going to be worth it? This is simulating like the ping pong balls and like the thing. If you've ever seen the NBA draft lottery, they have the ping pong balls in the machine. They pick the ping pong balls out, whatever, whatever. They did it before, and then they hold up the cards. Let's see. Let's see if it's going to be worth it for them. It was not. It was not. So I simmed the lottery right now, and if this goes as we think it's going to go, um, by the way, this Indiana pick that they have, they traded in the Ivica Zubac trade to get Ivica Zubac. It does belong in some perpetuity to the Clippers if it lands between a certain range. I believe it's like 5 to 8 or something. Yeah, I think it's 5 to 8. Yeah, 5 to 8 range. So let's go through these this hypothetical scenario, right? In this hypothetical scenario where the lottery was today, Memphis has the number 1 pick. Um, New Orleans has a pick at number 2, but it's going to Atlanta. Washington has 3. Sacramento has 4. The Pacers have 5, but then it's at 5, so it goes to the Clippers. Brooklyn has the 6th pick. Utah has the 7th pick, and then Dallas has the 8th pick. That's the top 8 right there. If that was the outcome for this, right? If that was the actual outcome, would have this tank been worth it? I would say no. And that's the problem. And that's the problem with the lottery odds as well, is that like what what happened to Dallas last year where they had like a 0.8% of getting the number 1 pick or whatever the hell it was. Um and they got it. That like in that deludes the rest of these teams, like even if they already projected to have like a top 5, top 3 pick, it deludes them even more to be like, oh, we need to be even worse, we need to be bad. And Dallas wasn't bad. That's the other thing too. Dallas wasn't bad last year. So they the NBA has like, I don't want to say like hyper inflated, but like inflated everybody's ego to be like, we could get the number 1 pick. We could be that team, you know, where it's gonna happen. And the crazy thing is, and I'm not like a conspiracy theorist or anything, but like when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, like I don't think the NBA ever wants a top pick going to one of these. I don't want to say shitty franchises, but shitty franchises, um, unmarketable franchises. Like the only thing that I think it benefits Utah in this scenario is that like AJ Dabansa, the kid from BYU, is playing in Utah right now. Him going to the Utah Jazz would be sort of poetic in that sense. Like they don't want Cameron Boozer in like Washington for what? Maybe they want maybe they could do Darren Peterson in Washington, but Darren Peterson in Washington and like the NBA knows these things. And I'm not saying they like handpick where players are gonna go, but like they play their game that they should play. They play the game and they know like Cooper Flag going to Dallas probably shouldn't have ever happened, but it did, and it worked out for the league as well because Dallas is a big market and new ownership, and the ownership is sketchy, but that's a whole separate thing. Um, the NBA has done the reverse of what the new lottery odds were supposed to do that were introduced. What was it? 6 years ago, 7 years ago, maybe yeah, somewhere around that ballpark. 7 years ago now, where if you were the worst team, you were guaranteed the number 1 pick essentially. Now they've like brought in the numbers, so almost any team can get the number 1 pick that's within like the top, like I believe the top like I think it's the first round. Like any team with a projected first round pick could get the number 1 pick. Hypothetically, like in this scenario, not even hypothetically, it happened with Dallas, so it could happen. But if you're not already a team that's ready to go, or you're not already a team that's like in a big market, you are not getting a top pick. Utah has played this game. They know this game well. They have not gotten the number 1, number 2 pick. They've been outliers of that top 3 for a long time. They've lucked out with some really good talent. Um, Keontae George, or Keontae George. What's the other one? the guy who had just had 22 assists. I forget his name, but they've lucked out with some of their draft picks, and that maybe that's on their front office and Danny Ainge and all that stuff, and Danny Ainge's son and all that stuff that draft very well, but or very well like 95% of the time, versus like a team like the Wizards where like they just brought in a whole new regime, a whole new front office to be better at drafting, and they have done better. So you look at it that way, but I I, I can't see the league being like, yeah, we want like Darren Peterson or like Dar- Cameron Boozer to go to Washington or like Utah, right? I This is my in my heart of hearts, I believe that like the Pacers, however mediocre the season has been, will have like a top three pick. Like they just have to. It's too perfect of a storyline, you know. And if they don't, I'll be very very surprised. But what what when I think about this and I think about what we're witnessing and how obvious the tanking is, does it really affect the product? I, I mm, again, I don't know. I really don't because like to begin with, none of these teams were on like had primetime games, so it's not affecting the NBA in that capacity. None of none of these teams, well, a lot of these teams have young players that will play and like fans like to see the young players play and they grow attached to these players, and so that means the stadium is at least a little full, like the arena is a little full. um i, I don't I don't think it innately affects the NBA. It just affects the general population and the perception of the league, right? Where we have all these problems with the NBA, right? All-Star game sucks. People don't try. We have the tanking stuff now. We had the gambling stuff in the beginning of the year. You know, we have what's going to happen when LeBron retires, when Steph retires, who's going to be the new face of the league. We have players taking gambling sponsorships. You know, we have all these problems with the NBA that Adam Silver just refuses to fix. And some of those things are in varying degrees of worse, bad, not good scale, you know? Um, I I think this is the least of his worries, but I think it should be a paramount issue that needs to be taken care of because you can't have these teams doing this. You know, it's a bad look. It's really bad. And again, like I understand it as somebody like Washington was never going to get a free agent. They would either have to trade for somebody or draft somebody, right? Same with Utah. They were never going to get a free agent. They would have to trade for somebody or draft somebody. They've done both. Washington has done both. Um, we'll see to what level of success next year. Um, but one team that I think has done it more ethically is the Pacers. And the Pacers sort of are in this weird space where they were in the NBA Finals last year. They're god awful this year for all intents and purposes to get a better pick. They're 15-40, but the other day they just beat the Knicks, a top three team in the East, in a close game that they had no business being in. That they're running people out there that I've never seen in my life. Like they're running players out there that I've never seen in my life. And they're at least still trying. They're going for it, you know, like maybe the last like 2 months of the season, month of the season, they'll start sitting people, right? Maybe. Just to jostle for positioning. But like I have to give it to the Pacers. This is probably the most interesting tank I've ever seen. Because it's showing they're still competitive, they still want to fight. They're waiting for two of their best players to come back. One they just traded for in Ivica Zubac, and one that tore his Achilles in the NBA Finals. They're waiting for those guys to come back next year, and they're still like, you know what, we can still try. We can still go out there and try. And I don't know if that's on the coach and Rick Carlisle, who's a seasoned coach who, even if he was told to tank, he'd be like, if I am told to tank, I am resigning. Maybe that's the case. I don't know that for a fact. are some of these newer coaches, like because Utah has a young coach and Will Hardy. The Wizards have a not a young coach, but a new coach. They've had that coach for a little bit now. I think he's a little bit older, but he doesn't have a lot of pull. I don't know if like they're just getting the call from up top from the brass and being like, hey, you gotta rest these guys, you gotta sit these guys at the end of games. If it looks like we're gonna lose, you want this pick. I don't know what the case for that is. Oh wow, I don't know what the case for that is. I don't know, but from my perspective, I've loved what the Pacers done, and I'm not gonna say I'm gonna root for the Pacers, but I hope the Pacers have a really good year next year, and I hope they get a really good draft pick, and a really good player with that draft pick. But just looking at the difference in like how teams go about how they tank and what they're doing, and who knows if you'll be rewarded, right? We just like did that hypothetical sim the lottery, right? If they get the number 5 pick, would this have all been worth it? Oh, they're not even gonna get a pick. Let's say they lose their pick. Is this all going to be worth it for the Pacers? Uh, I I don't know. I don't know if this obviously wasn't the plan all along. But if you take the team at face value, what it is right now, with Tyrese coming back, with Ivica Zubac on the roster now, do you feel comfortable in saying, "Hey, we can make it to another conference finals at least with this group, without a draft pick"? Keep in mind. Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you look at it this way, would you say it this way as well? Would you, if you still had your number 5 pick hypothetically, would you have traded it for Ivica Zubac? Hmm? I, I'm not saying that's Zoo's range, but if I don't like anybody at 5, then like, what am I doing, right? If you go look at the big board here, at 5, you're not getting anybody that that like pops out to me, like, and nobody that fits like your mold of the team that you need, Like it's a bunch of guards and forwards and like this kid from Duke, Patrick Nungbala, the second. I like him a little bit at Duke, but like, is he worth a number 5 pick? Hell no. Like no, the Pacers did the right thing. I'm overthinking it. You don't want to take Fleming. He's a point guard. You don't want to take Wilson. He's a small forward, power forward. You don't want to take uh, Wagler here, Mikel Brown Jr. Yeah, no, they did the right thing. But my point in being like, is the tank ever worth it? And I think that's the question I'm trying to answer myself is the tank worth it? I don't know. I, maybe under the old lottery rules it was, but now with everything going on and like anybody could get the number 1 pick essentially, I don't think it's worth it. I think everybody needs to do what the Pacers do, what the Pacers have done, and just say, hey, what we're gonna go out there try to still win some games. We're gonna lose some games, but um, we have the odds to get a draft pick, and we if we don't get it, then the Clippers get it, and we're okay with that. Um, moving on here, let's move on to some games. Just to briefly talk about some games here. From Monday and Tuesday, I believe it was. All right, to round out the video here, we're going to talk about some games. There are 3 games I want to talk about in particular. One of them, I just want to. A lot of these, I'm just going to go over in very broad strokes, but hit some points I want to talk about here. Um, this Oklahoma City Lakers game. Oklahoma City won this game 119 to Los Angeles Lakers 110. They almost won this game without Luka. LeBron James in this game 22 points, 6 rebounds, 10 assists, 3 turnovers, 1 steal. And everybody else pitched in a little bit. You got 12 from Rui Hachimura, 14 from Jake LaRavia, 19 from Marcus Smart, which is really good, and then 16 from Austin Reeves in one of his first return games after his injury. And the the Oklahoma City Thunder still look like a team. Um, After this game, they did suffer some injuries in the next game. Um, Jalen Williams re-aggravating his hamstring. Chet Holmgren leaving the game with an apparent injury. And for them, luckily it happened at a good time. We're about to go into the All-Star break. But there are some concerning things that you look at this Thunder team, like they're a little banged up. Shea wasn't playing this game either; he's been out. Um, you look at some of these other players on this team, and you're like, they're good, they're nice, you know. We still need our punch, and teams are starting to kind of figure it out a little bit. And the broad stroke I want to get into with the Thunder is that, like, I don't want to say teams have figured them out completely, but like when the Thunder can't bludgeon you to death, and that's essentially what they do, they just keep hitting you over the head with threes and just keep stealing the ball from you, and like they keep throwing lobs, and Chet keeps catching them, or Isaiah Hartenstein keeps catching them, whatever the case may be. They look vulnerable, and I don't think this Lakers team is the greatest Lakers team, especially without Luca. But to see them almost beat this Thunder team, and it took a very big effort from Jalen Williams, who had 23. Um, Not the loudest 23 I've ever seen, but a much needed 23. Looked like the Jalen Williams of last year, yeah, of last year essentially. Um, I I I grow concerned with this Thunder team just a little bit. I'm not saying anybody could beat them. I would like somebody to beat them in the playoffs, but this is the challenge of going back to back, and you think it's easy, and it's not, and it's not. You're gonna get dinged up. You're gonna get injured. Some Luckily, the Thunder have like so many guys that could step up. One of my favorite players on this Thunder team, if I had to pick a favorite player, is Kason Wallace, number 22. Kason Wallace has the easiest job in the NBA. Sometimes he starts, sometimes he doesn't. He goes in there, hits threes, plays some really high quality, like not like in your face defense, just smart defense. I like Kason Wallace on this team a lot. You have guys like Jalen Williams, Jaylin Williams, Jalen Williams, number 6. You have Kenrich Williams. You have Isaiah Joe. You have Jared McCain now, who I watched in this game. I was like, oh, Jared McCain. I don't know if you about Jared McCain, but yeah, I don't know how I feel about Jared McCain on this roster, but uh, this game made me like, oh, I was like, oh, okay. I mean, there's no Shea, but like, hey, guys, the reality of being the champs is that teams know what you look like without Shea, and teams know how much you rely on Shea, and teams know, hey, Chad Holmgren isn't that guy. He's not that guy. Jalen Williams can be that guy sometimes, but like, you shut Jalen Williams down, you just gotta worry about the shooters, and then if the shooters ain't shooting, and that's like 1 or 2 games, you know, that you could get 1 or 2 wins in a series. That's all I'm saying. Um, yeah. Next game. Knicks versus Philly. I pulled this one up because the Knicks won this game 138 to the Philadelphia 76ers 89. Um, and I wanted to say this in another video, but the Knicks didn't come up, so I didn't say it. But when the Knicks lost to the Pacers embarrassingly, I was like, the next team they're playing is gonna get like the whole 2 barrels, 4 shots, you know, and the Sixers got all of it. They got all of it. This was I tuned into this game in the second quarter, and they were already up like 20 or like 19. I was like, yeah, this game's over. These Sixers not coming back. And then you realize who was out there for the Sixers in the starting lineup. It was Dominic Barlow, it was Adem Bona, Kelly Oubre Jr., Tyrese Maxey, and VJ Edgecombe. You're like, oh, that's why they got the breaks beaten off of them. um, so yeah, Mikal Bridges at 22, Jalen Brunson at 8, and Karl Towns at 21. Coming off that embarrassing loss to the Pacers, this is exactly what they needed. But I still, I still don't like this Knicks team because man, I don't want to have to lose a game to the Pacers, the worst team in the league, for you guys to get up and play. As a coach, I don't like that. I want you to play this hard every night. I want you to think it's us against the world. If you have to get beaten by the worst team in the league to be like, oh, guess we got to try against our next opponent, then this team is lost. This team has already lost the mental battle, you know. And I think Jalen Brunson's a great leader in this locker room. I think guys like Landry Shaman have that sort of it factor, have that sort of that mean in them, you know. Um, a lot of these guys don't have that mean in them. Jose Alvarado, great pickup. Hasn't done a lot really. He had a really good game this game. Played 19 minutes, 26 points, but he's not going to do that every night for you. Maybe in a playoff game, but not every night. And I don't know. Maybe I don't think no I'm not no I'm not overthinking it. I'm right on the money. I'm worried about this Knicks team mentally. That's what I'm trying to say for sure. And then this last one here I want to talk about from last night. One of the final games before we go to All Star Weekend. There are three more tonight. Um, but one of the last ones I'm going to talk about is the San Antonio Spurs in San Francisco to play the Warriors. No Steph Curry, no anybody for that matter, just Draymond Green and the guys. And I have to give the Warriors a round of applause. I have to give Steve Kerr a round of applause. These guys played their butts off. They really did, and they played some of the best defense I've seen on Victor Wembanyama um, his whole career thus far. Some of the like top three defensive performances of a team that try to stop one guy, and that guy being Victor Wembanyama. And the San Antonio Spurs only won this game at the end of the third and in the fourth quarter. The whole first half of the game, the Warriors had their number. They had their number badly, and the only thing the Warriors were missing was a guy to close the game. Because when it really started to get to crunch time, like the last like 6, 5, 4 minutes, nobody was out there doing anything. Draymond Green hit a three where he took like two of them in the last couple minutes, missed like one of them, made one, and like this team was just missing somebody to do the job, get the job done. I saw freaking Brendan Podzimski out there throwing up shots. Disgusting. It was disgusting. It was disgusting. I wanted to turn the TV off. 16 points for him, 5 of 12 from field goal, 1 of 4 from three. Disgusting. Moses Moody looked good. Draymond looked good, obviously, as the vet out there. Quinn Post looked okay, and yeah, it was a hard fought performance by the Warriors, but they fell short to Victor Wembanyama, who had 26, and De'Aaron Fox, who had 27. And De'Aaron Fox, um, as of this moment, just a couple minutes ago, um, was announced as the replacement player for Giannis in the 2026 All Star game. So De'Aaron Fox will be an All Star again. Yeah, because he made it before. Yeah, he'll be an All Star again. So congrats to De'Aaron. And yeah, I believe that's it. That's the video. You guys will get a video. What's tomorrow? Friday? Yeah, no, you'll get a video Saturday recapping my preseason predictions and how well they've aged. It's a fun video. It's one of the more fun videos I've had making over the last couple months. To look back at my predictions, laugh at them. I got a lot right. But that video will be up on Saturday, so keep your eyes out for that one. And yeah, the first half of the season is done. It's over. It's crazy. You're already here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will see you guys next time. Cheers.